And another example of working with static content that might work better for you is to use content lists or smart lists. The way we've been doing this before in the text component or in a content item component or any of the content types that we use is that this link has to be maintained. So if the link changes or you need to modify it, it means going into the edit page of that content item and then making a change to the link. It might be better to work with these in a more CMS way. And what I mean is using a more dynamic list that's more easily managed. So a content item component, for example. And the best way to use that is to put static files themselves into the WEM system. So you'll go and download those static files, those PDFs, and build a folder and store them there. And then once they're in that folder, like I've placed here, I'm going to associate them to a channel for publishing because we do want to make sure these get published. So I'm going to add this to, for example, the home channel. So I'll go to my site, add it to the home channel, and once those are in the channel, then they'll be published once they're approved. So for example, now I could just approve them. But what I want to do is put them on the website first before I publish. And I'm going to use a content list. So I'll go to Page Mode, I'll click on Insert, and this time I'm going to select from the Component Types list a content list. And I'll put that maybe at the top. And this allows us to select existing items. So I can click Select Content Item, and then browse folders or search or whatever I want. Maybe if I browse types, I can see all the files in the system. And then there's my files. I select those 3 files, I add to selections, and then I click OK. And now those PDFs are managed from this content list. So if I save and close, I'll be able to see those 3 files there. I can leave page mode, and if I click on those files, they'll open in another window. Now we can control that through a display view. Let me refresh. But otherwise you get a nice behavior, and these are more easily managed because if I need to manage those or change them, I go into page mode and I edit the properties of that list, or I change the display view of that list. So if I edit the properties of the list, I can change and add more content there that way. And another advantage to using content list or smart list is that in page mode I can drag and drop and move these items around. So if I want to put this item at the top, I'll drag it to the very top of the list, and it modifies the list of items here in the presentation, and that's available in the smart list as well as the content list. And once the lists are correct and you're happy with this, you can drag and drop the components around as well. So if I need to move this list down here, I'll put that list there, and maybe I'll put this at the top, and I'll move the page around a bit until I'm happy with it. And there's 3 ways to work with lists of static content. There are other ways too. You can use smart lists, but that requires using the link content type to create a link to that item, which is available on the assets URL, and then manage that as a linked asset in the WEM system. And I can show you that later if you want.